Hey everyone, Jonah Mathis here. So this is a different space than what you're used to seeing, and that's because some personal things happened in my life that I'm not gonna really get into, and I kind of took like a mental health break for a few months just to focus on some other business things and my own well-being. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we're looking at the Sony HT-A3000. So this is the little brother to the A5000 and the little brother to the A7000. So now Sony has a massive lineup of soundbars this year. The A3000, the new one, the A5000, A7000, and then the HT-A9, which is the 4-speaker setup that's all wireless. So let's get into it and go ahead and unbox this thing. So the HT-A3000 is a little bit different than the A5000 and the A7000. The main biggest difference is that this one doesn't have any upward firing speakers in it. Although it still is Dolby Atmos though, so it can still help process those 3D signals that will go to the surround speakers, the subwoofer, so it'll still have that spatial audio feel, and it'll do its best to give you that sense of like upward firing audio, but of course there's no actual upward firing speakers. Fortunately, you can connect the RS5 surrounds if you want to. So you could potentially get a 3.1.2 channel setup, or a 5.1.2 channel setup with this soundbar. So get these out of the way. Looks like we got the normal cables, power cable, HDMIs, auxiliary cable, and of course the standard remote control. Basically all the remote controls look the exact same here. Like they don't have a ton of differences to them. This one might be the same as the A5000, honestly. I don't know. There's very small differences in them. It's a great looking soundbar. It looks really good. I'm glad they went with all metal again. Same exact style as the A5000, honestly. Except of course it's missing those upward firing speakers. We got touch buttons up here, so they're not actual physical clicky buttons. Come over here on the back side here. So if you zoom in here a little bit on the back side, you can see there's only a single HDMI port on here. So that's just the HDMI out, or HDMI eARC port. No HDMI in for this one. So that's a big difference from this one to the A5000. But we still have the digital optical, we still have a USB, and then that S-Center out port as well. So if you have a Sony Bravia TV, there's a feature in there where if you plug this auxiliary cable into here and the other end into the TV, instead of using the center channel speakers on the soundbar, it uses the center channel speakers to the actual TV speakers. So those TVs have acoustic surface audio. So instead of the audio like bouncing off the back of the wall, it's actually coming from the screen. It sounds really good. I've heard it before, and I've heard reviews from other friends that have had the sound bars and TV at the same time, and it can make a big difference if it's the acoustic surface audio. And then on the sides, we have these little ports, and I actually got confirmation from Sony. Those are basically ports for the built-in subwoofers. So on the front, directly to the sides of the center channel speaker, there's two built-in subwoofers. And you know how I feel, built-in subwoofers aren't amazing. I think they're better than no subwoofer, but they don't exactly get as low as a separate subwoofer ever will. But I think what helps a lot is these ports. So you have these subwoofers firing, and the audio travels all the way from out here to these ports here, and it can help expand the audio a little bit, make it sound wider than this soundbar actually is. Looks like there's mounting holes on the back here. On the other side, I think it's just power. Yeah, so it is a very, very simple soundbar. Before we set it up, I wanted to give you a quick size comparison of the A7000, A5000, and A3000. So it is quite a bit smaller, but it's still bigger than most, like $300, $400 soundbars. I don't know exactly what the price is. I think it was $700. If it's different, I'll show it on screen there, but not a big deal. Yeah, so you can see they all have the same exact design as far as front metal grille. Top is like this textured, kind of leather looking material, but it's plastic. Sony logo. Again, only difference, no upward firing speakers on this one. While the A5000 has a metal grille cover, the A7000 has the cloth grille cover, or upward firing speaker cover. They all kind of have the same button layout as well. These two are very similar. The A7000 has more of like a glossy glass top looking thing. All right, so soundbar setup now, literally just HDMI cable and power. Super simple, like basically all the other soundbars out there now. When you first plug it in, it's gonna ask you if you wanna perform this easy setup process. It's very simple. Basically, all of Sony soundbars have the same exact setup process. and user interface, which I've already mentioned many times how I love Sony's user interface. It's way better than anyone else's, especially if you have a Sony TV. It integrates really, really well with Sony TVs. Although this is an LG C10, so I don't get that feature. So if you want to connect the surround speakers to this one, you have the option of the RS3S speakers, which are $350, or you have the option for the RS5s, which I think are $600, but I don't exactly remember. I'll have those prices on screen, just in case. We're not gonna connect any wireless speakers. We can connect it to the internet for AirPlay and things like that. Really not gonna test any of that right now. I mainly just wanna get like a general sense of how this soundbar sounds. So yeah, this is that user interface here where you can select the input. Doesn't really matter now that kind of just TV. There's no HDMI inputs or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about it. The setup menu is really cool. If you go into the advanced settings, you have a ton of different options for audio settings and different things that you can mess with. I've showed a lot of this in the other Sony videos as well, so I imagine these are very, very similar. Now, the only thing that I'm really curious of is I don't know if you can do the spatial audio or the, what's the name of it? Yeah, the 360 spatial sound mapping. I don't think you can do that unless the setting is only available when optional rear speakers are connected. So since we don't have rear speakers connected, it's not gonna go through that process, but it is really cool and it makes it sound a lot better in a 3D environment. But for now, let's just go and watch something on the NVIDIA Shield. We're gonna watch Ford versus Ferrari, the same scenes that I typically watch, just to get an idea. Note this scene's supposed to sound like on a really good system, so it's really easy to rewatch it over.
Well, that sounds reasonable enough.
Shall we come over?
Sure. In front?
Yeah, that would be preferable. Open the door! Hey, open the door! Open the door!
Just hold me right there. Can you take my hand?
Wow.
Sorry, sir. Can you just give me a moment?
Open the door!
It gets weird when you're used to listening to the really high-end systems like the A7000, the A9, Sonos Arc, Samsung, what is it now? Q950A, I think. Yeah, Q950A. So when you've listened to a lot of these different soundbar systems and you go down to something lower, it can be a little discouraging, saying like, it's not that good. But in reality, for $700, I'd look up the price. For $700, it's really not that bad. I will say I've had to like crank the audio up a bit more than what I'm used to. So the audio, I'm usually setting the volume level to like maybe 40 on most of them, sometimes 50. I had to crank it up to about 85 before it got to a level I was very comfortable with. And then just to see what it went to, it maxed out at 100. So it doesn't seem like it's great for a super large room, which you really shouldn't expect for a smaller soundbar. You would expect a larger soundbar to cover a much larger area, and this is a relatively large room. It's a big, big rectangle, tiled floor, so there's audio bouncing all around this room right now. For $700, that's how much the A3000 is, the A5000 is $1,000, the A7000 is $1,400, and the A9 is $1,800. So, they have lots of price options in there, and for this being $700, with the ability to kind of add in more things to it, that's really not bad. I don't think it's like a horrible deal by any means. Of course, these are just first impressions and there's a lot more for me to dive into, and there may be a video on that in the near future, or I may kind of combine a few different things. But I'm really not sure yet. Again, just kind of getting back into this, but I wanted to show you guys the A3000, a little bit about what it looks like, how it works, and how it could be potentially a really nice compact soundbar system. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.